welcome to another episode of Success University with your host, Krystal Cawley, also known as the most famous woman in the world. So today I want to talk about how low self-esteem is selfish. And I know that's a little bit of a clickbaity title, but I was driving today and listening to the Miracle Morning podcast, which I love. And something in there, I actually don't even remember exactly what caused this thought to come through my head, but I struggle with low self-esteem and depression, clinical depression, and anxiety, social anxiety specifically. And just the thought came through my head that, how dare you? How dare you take everything that you know you could do and everyone that you know in your heart you could help now or in the future, or even the kids that I help every single day. I'm a music teacher, amongst my other slew of hobbies and passions and jobs and careers and businesses. And I just thought, how dare you allow just the narcissism of focusing on yourself so much that you allow that to stop you from helping the kids that you see every single day. That's what I heard some voice from deep within me saying. That, okay, you know what? You struggle with low self-esteem. I know cognitively from my studies that low self-esteem rarely has anything to do with reality. Most of the time, if someone has low self-esteem, it comes from childhood trauma, not being raised in a stable family home environment. I would say that's number one, first and foremost, where low self-esteem comes from. And that's not just me guessing, that's because of my biobehavioral health degree that I'm getting. The family structure that you're raised in is, I would say, from all of the studies conducted on childhood development and how that manifests over a lifetime, that yes, that's the number one factor of esteem in general. So it really has no correlation to actual reality. Some of the highest achieving individuals have low self-esteem. Many of them, well, not many, too many of them, because the number should be zero, but too many of them commit suicide because they have low self-esteem. Even when they have millions or billions of dollars and hundreds of people that admire them, hundreds of people that rely on them, thousands of people that look up to them, thousands of people that maybe they even helped through their, whatever they're doing, speaking or their business or something, and I just thought to myself, wow, if you have low self-esteem, you kind of have to turn around and don't take this as beating yourself up even more, like, oh, I have low self-esteem. Oh, and I'm a narcissistic bitch. Like, oh, I'm horrible. I'm a horrible person. And then you spiral down even worse into your low self-esteem, okay? The point I'm trying to make here is that one way to get out of low self-esteem is to just stop focusing on yourself. Just, the people that you could help, think about them. And not saying that you're going to be, the savior of all mankind and you're going to be this superhero that just flies through the world, giving out golden tickets. But for me, I thought to myself, there's already enough for me as a Black woman, a mixed half Black and half woman, half white woman, that, a lot of people don't know my racial background because I look extremely ambiguous. I'm like very, very just beige. But that's my background. I'm half Black and half Russian Jewish. I thought to myself, how dare you allow low self-esteem to make you play small, not get up out of bed on days when you know you should, do less than you could? Because just think of a little Black girl out there that maybe one day she hears your story and is inspired to achieve her dreams. How dare you allow something that happened 20 years ago, which is my unstable family background, which included abuse. So you're going to let them win. You're going to and just wallow in your pain and sorrow and just focus on how you feel about yourself all day, instead of getting your ass up, getting out there and helping some people and being selfless and actually living a life of service and not in a bullshitty way. Actually doing it, really doing it every single day, one-on-one with real people every day in your life, the people that are in your life that you see. Not even anybody who may hear this podcast in the future, but I'm specifically thinking about my students. But, for anyone, just think, especially if you're, a minority of some kind, how dare you be so narcissistic that you allow your voice to just be lost and just drowned and not care enough about anybody else out there that you could help. Just by simply showing up and achieving your dream. So that's the crazy part, is that you can be selfish in that way, right? You can think, okay, what do I want to do? And you can go after that thing with all your heart and soul in a totally selfish way. And go get that goal. Just by the mere act of you getting up and showing up and actually striving and actually doing that thing with your whole ass and not just your half, right? You might inspire one person, one kid who you see, who maybe you meet one kid one day and you tell that kid your story and you don't even remember even talking to that kid, and you don't know how you affected them. Just by achieving your dreams, whatever that is. So don't be so narcissistic and focusing so much on yourself that you forget that the world needs you. The world needs good people. The world needs people with moral compasses. I'm actually specifically thinking of one of my friends a few years ago. I remember her saying something to the effect of not wanting to go into a certain business or profession because just basically she felt like she didn't fit in to the typical person that would be in her mind. So she felt like her industry that she wanted to go into was predominantly white male. It was dominated by white men, and she was a Hispanic female. And I thought to myself, oh my God, That's exactly why you should go into that profession. That's exactly why you should do it. The world needs people like you. The world needs to see that that particular industry isn't only just for white guys. Mexican girls can go there and do it too, just as good. So if you're thinking of doing whatever it is, for me, I have some incredibly big goals that I just put on my plate last year. And I put them on my plate. I put them on my radar. I started LLCs. And one of them in particular for me is I am still struggling with the I'm not good enough scenario running in my brain about it. And for me, that's my aerospace startup. I incorporated an aerospace company. It's called Spaceborne. Space, Bourne. Spaceborne, like the upper limit. For all of us nerds out there, a born in math is an upper limit or boundary. So it's basically saying, my company means that the sky's not the limit. Space is the limit. And if space is the limit, then technically it's limitless, right? Very nerdy stuff, I know. But so Spaceborne, when I got the idea, okay, well, it's not like I got the idea. I have been into aerospace for about a decade now, which is crazy. I'm like, oh my God, it's already been 10 years. But I originally started going to school for aerospace engineering, and I ended up switching that, but I switched it specifically because I kind of realized that I didn't want to actually be an engineer, that I wanted to be the guy at the top, right? I wanted to be the girl at the top. I wanted to just be an administrator. I felt like it was easier, which is, hindsight is 20/20. And so I always wanted to have my own space company, but it was, in the beginning, not something I ever really actually thought was actually doable or attainable. It just sounds so astronomical, pun intended. It sounds so unachievable and out of reach. But I took my own advice and I went, you know what? Stop making this just pie in the sky and putting everybody else on such a pedestal, putting, other aerospace corporation CEOs on such a pedestal like they're some kind of god or some kind of demigod. Stop putting them on a pedestal and just realize that, hey, you know what? You don't have to start this. You don't have to build Rome in a day. I realized that I did not have to just suddenly create a successful space company like boom overnight. It's fine if it takes a few years, right? And not only is it fine if it takes a few years, it's going to have to take a few years, right? And I thought, hey, you know what? What if I made this a lifetime goal, a goal that I am going to be doing over my lifetime? Not just thinking, oh, this year, this month, next week, today, or even next year, or even the year after that, or the year after that, or 5 years from now, or even 10 years from now. I looked at it and went, wow, I could just tinker on this space corporation a little bit. And you know what? Hey, if I get a couple of steps forward this year, cool. If I do 2 things this year on this space corporation, cool. Next year, if I do 3 things, cool. The year after that, the year after that, the year after that, I'm looking at Spaceborne as something that I'm going to be a part of until I'm 90. I'm going to be that little old lady that's still kicking everybody's ass. I'm not planning on stopping. I'm not planning on retiring. I know myself well enough to know that I want to be active. I want my brain to be active. I want to be geriatric and out there just killing the game still. As much as my body will allow me to do, that's what I will do. I'm not going to just sit. I'm not going to stop at 65. I might slow down, but I'm not stopping. So because I know that, and that's partially inspired by my grandfather, who was still very mentally active all the way until he was passing away. I'm looking at it like, all right, do I think that I can get somewhere with this corporation by the time I'm 50? I'm 37 now. Do I think I could get somewhere by the time I'm 60? How about 65? How about 70? What if I finally did something significant with Spaceborne when I was 80? Well, hey, you know what? At least I did it. And hey, that gives me 43 years to work on it. Do I think I can achieve something in 43 years? Yeah, I do. And you know what? Along the way, that industry needs Black women because we're not represented enough in engineering and aerospace. So instead of thinking, no one looks like me. There's no Black girls from Long Beach, California there. Or maybe there is, I don't know, maybe there's a few, but definitely not the majority. But instead of having such narcissism that I'm like, oh, well, poor me. I could never do it because I don't look like the people that... No, I'm thinking, dang, what if I started Spaceborne? What if I actually did it? What if I actually achieved something significant? And when I'm standing up there at whatever podium, saying whatever I need to say, at whatever commencement thing, right? I don't know. What if I have a breakthrough technology and I'm there at the launch? And this is my company. That's right, it's my company. And I inspire a little Black girl to start her own aerospace corporation. Or fill in the blank, whatever it is. And I hope she's smarter than me, right? I hope that little girl is a genius and just kills the game. So it's stuff like that you can think to get yourself out of your low self-esteem. Just think, maybe. Hey, maybe not too, but guess what? Tomorrow I could walk outside and get hit by a bus. So you know what? Well, if that's the case, then I might as well show up every day and strive. Not just for me, not just for you, right? You're not striving just for you. You're trying to be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. Like I always say, look at it like this. If you think of someone that, just think of a friend or a colleague at work. I don't know, a teacher that you had, a friend, whoever. Do you want them to have such low self-esteem that they're suicidal? They can't get out of bed? Like, of course not, right? Like, we would never, look at our friend or colleague and be like, yeah, I'm so glad that you have low self-esteem so bad that you're suicidal. Like, no. Only a mentally ill person would think something like that about another human being, right? So if you would not think something like that about another human being or wish that upon someone else, well, why the hell are you doing it to yourself? Like, are you crazy? Like, literally, like, Are you? I mean, and if you are, like, please go get help. Really. Please go see a mental professional so that you can change your diet, change your gut health, change your exercise habits, get some vitamin D, get some medication, whatever you need to do. Because if you're having, such low self-esteem and depression and anxiety that it's causing you to live a life that is not fit for you, that you can do better, you can do more, you can be better, you can be happier, you can be healthier, not just for you, but for other people. It's like, well, don't be an asshole to yourself. Like, only a total dick would think, oh, yeah. Don't say things to yourself that you wouldn't say to someone else. Because honestly, you're being a narcissistic asshole if you are. Like, dude, get off it. Get off yourself, bro. Sitting there wallowing in self-hatred is a form of narcissism in itself. Sitting there just wallowing in pity, self-pity, it's just like, no, dude. It's sort of like, the spoiled prince in a castle. And, it's like, dude, the world has so many problems. There's so many people with so many problems that you could help. Get off it. Get off yourself. All right. More rantings today. So, don't be a narcissistic asshole. Raise up your self-esteem at least to a level of just realizing that, you know what? Most likely, you're just a kind of pretty much average person. I mean, I know I am. I'm just a person, right? I'm not any more special than anyone, and no one's any more special than me. So for me to sit around and wallow in self-pity is kind of like, and low self-esteem is sort of like, it's singling yourself out to be special somehow. Like you're special somehow. Your problems are special somehow. No, your problems aren't special somehow. We all have those same types of problems. Some are worse than others. And on top of that, the world needs you. The world needs leaders. The world needs people who have a normal, healthy sense of self, a solid understanding of like, no, I'm good, regular person, nice, easy, neutral. You don't have to pump yourself up into believing that you're the next Steve Jobs, but at least realize that you're good enough to achieve whatever it is you need, and we need you. All right, until next time, demonstrate excellence and bravery.
The information provided in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be construed as financial advice, investment advice, or medical advice. The host is not a financial advisor nor a medical doctor or licensed therapist. Any financial or medical decisions made based on the information in this podcast are made at the listener's own risk. It is recommended that listeners consult with licensed professionals such as CPAs, financial advisors, and licensed physicians before making any investment or medical decisions. The host and creators of this podcast accept no responsibility or liability for any loss or damages incurred as a result of the information provided in this podcast.